Hi everyone, this is Lynn. Welcome back to the Quilt Lit 101, the second block, and we are doing Alice in Wonderland. Now these are books that I just named and related to these blocks, but I wanted to show you how to make this one. Now, the reason I chose this block as my second block is because you'll see that it's really similar to the first one. So the first one we did these 4 patches, so you should be able to do those with this one. So you're going to create these 4 patches, and then you're going to have a center block again, very similar to the first one. But the first one, these were solid pieces. So you'll notice that these are now going to be pieced. So it's just going to give us another level of interest and allow us to use some more colors. Now, in the directions that you've downloaded, if you bought the pattern, the directions are all in there. If you downloaded the supply list, you'll notice that there are 10 fabrics. Now, I always refer to the same number for the same color in every block. So don't get confused when I say this is fabric number 2, navy. It's always going to be, this color will always be referred to as navy, and it will always be referred to as fabric number 2. Okay, so that you can keep those consistent across all the blocks that we end up doing. So the colors that we're going to use is navy, fabric number 2, fabric number 8 is hibiscus, and fabric number 9 is this really light green or yellow green, and this is cactus. And these are all Kona colors. So if you go to the Kona catalog, you can see exactly what colors I chose. And then the next color is number 10, and it's called sour apple. So these are 10.5-inch blocks, so we're building on that. So if you think about this, this is going to be 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. So that gives me a 10.5-inch block, right? So that's how you figure out and break that down. Now, you're going to first cut a 2.5 by 2.5 square for the center. Then we're going to make our 4 patches. So you're going to cut 2.5-inch strip, right? And you are going to cut out enough of those to make the 4 patches. Now, this is what I want to show you, and just to clarify, remember, you are looking at light and dark, right? So if I want the dark ones to stand out, notice how I've arranged those to where they're going to be kind of creating a circle around it. So this would be the wrong placement. I'm looking at the placement to be here because that navy is definitely darker than the hibiscus. Now, this purple, when it printed out a different color. That's the color of hibiscus in Kona. So just to be clear with that. So make 4 patches again, just like you did last week. Cut them out 2.5 inches. Then you're going to match the seams up, and you'll notice if I press to the dark, these seams will lock right in there. And when you get them to lock right in there, then when you're sewing it along this line, see how they kind of lock? I'm going to hold that up to the camera so you can see that. Notice they kind of snuggle in right there, right? And because they snuggle in, when I sew that, I get this, and I will hit that point every time. And that's what you want, is those points to match, right? Okay, so go on and do that. And then we'll work on, so this will give you the 2, well, this will be in the center, and then this would be here, right? Okay. All right, so we're building this up like you would sew all your things. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start creating this. Now this is your bars on the side, right? Right over here. This is those bars right there. And so what you're going to do is you're going to cut, these are 1.5 and 2.5, right? And then you're going to cut these. Remember, we're making a 10.5-inch block. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. How would I cut these? I would cut these 2.5, right? So I'm going to cut 4 of those because they're each going to go here. You're going to sew one side, press it, sew one side, press it. I press to the dark, so they would be pressed over, right? That's going to give me a really good line. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because it just adds more interest. Once I cut those, I'm going to be able to place those here, here. Now, notice, just because I haven't sewn these together, this is when you notice this stuff, right? Because this isn't sewn together, it hasn't taken up that 1/4 inch seam on both sides, so it looks like this is not going to fit because this is sewn together, but as soon as I take up that 1/4 inch seam, it will, right? So don't freak out if they look a little bit bigger, right? Okay, so what I would do is once I get all 4 of those sewn, and all 4 of these sewn, then I'm just going to assemble the block. I always lay it out next to me, right next to my sewing machine. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the corners, I'm laying it out next to me, and then I just start picking up pieces and I'm going, I'm going to sew this first, then I would sew this next, right? Press them, go out. Then I would sew, this is already sewn together, like I've already made those. Then I would sew this to here and this to here. Okay, that would be that. And then once I've done that, then I've got this strip, right, that I've sewn together. And then once that strip is sewn together and I'm paying attention to where my squares are, right, here you go, I'm paying attention to that. And then this allows me to, so once I've got 1 strip, 2 strips, last strip, I sew top to bottom, this to this, and I'm done, right? And it's a really fun block. And look, all we've done compared to what we did last week is we've just added one little difference in the strips. One little difference, but it gives you a completely different look. So this will always work with your other blocks. And this is really what I want you to get with this whole teaching, this whole quilt. These all work together because of how I chose the placement of things, right? So this block, you know, will work with any other block in the things that you're going to see. So anyway, please enjoy. And someone asked me a question, can you do this scrappy? Absolutely. Do it scrappy. It'll be perfect. All you have to do is on those 10 different fabrics that you chose, you are going to just assign a color to them and then just pull scraps from that color thing. Just really consider light, medium, dark, right? So think about those when you're putting that together, all right? And I love how this kind of glows. Like, I just thought that was super fun. All right. Join us, please. If you haven't bought the pattern, it supports me. I'd be so, so grateful. Do that, or join us weekly, because every other week we have Zoom calls, and you can get online, and we can do show and tell, and we can talk about the block and other things that we can do with it. So the link's in the description below. Otherwise, y'all have a great day, and I'll see you for the next block.